I never saw faith as a way of bringing it to work at all. But probably the first time I saw that concept was when I was at Harding, and the first time I started thinking, you know what? Maybe Jesus cares about my spreadsheets, you know?
Welcome to the Workmatters Podcast, where we have conversations about the purpose and practice of work. Each week, you'll want to join us to hear from different leaders in different industries and roles wrestle over how their faith intersects their work. So let's dive in. Well, we have a really neat guest with us today, Manuel Barrantes, which I think I got it out pretty well. How'd I do?
I think you did great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But that's not your full name. What's your full name?
Yeah, Manuel Ángel Barrantes Duarte. So we got first, middle name, and then two last names.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I did good just getting two names correct.
You did.
I did really great.
Perfect.
Well, I'm so excited you're with us today, Manuel. He's a dear friend to Workmatters. In fact, he's one of our storytellers in the Workmatters Institute. He talks about balance.
Mm-hmm.
Manuel is currently the director of Spark Shopper Experience with Walmart. He previously was the regional merchandise and operations director at Walmart and also has led the Sam's Club multi-year fulfillment strategy. Manuel was awarded the Resolution Fellowship at the United Nations for Social Impact Work in Nicaragua and was named the White House Fellow Regional Finalist for Leadership Potential. He's a retail operations leader with a track record of driving growth and innovation, but he is equally as passionate about his faith, community, and time with his wife and his beautiful daughter. In fact, he says that his faith and family are at the center of everything he does. They drive the way he leads and serves at work. And if you want to treat Manuel to a favorite snack or drink, get him a mocha or anything with white chocolate. Is that right?
That's right. Right.
Okay, did I leave anything out? Anything you want to add to that?
No, I think you got everything, you know, and hobbies, of course, we love riding bikes, Northwest Arkansas. I love playing guitar as well with the family. And yeah, those are two things that we enjoy the most. And playing soccer, of course, we love it. My daughter's trying to learn, so
that's fun.
Really enjoy that.
How old is she now?
3 years old.
Okay.
Oh, that's so fun. What a great season.
Well, we met a year before she was born.
Yes.
Back in 2021, you went through the Workmatters Institute. Mm-hmm. And so I know it's been a wild, windy, amazing journey for you to be seated on this couch today. I think and I never get tired of the story, and I think it'd benefit our listeners just to hear that journey that led you to Northwest Arkansas.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. I just want to say it's an honor to be here. What you guys are doing, it's amazing. Impacting people's lives. We're believers and unbelievers in many ways. I'll tell you, I come from very humble beginnings. I was born in Nicaragua. And of course, there's a lot to this story that I can share. But Nicaragua is known for being a very communist country. If you think about just all the countries out there in the world, it's probably ranked 3, 2. And a lot of who I am, it's based on my past and everything, right, where I come from. But, you get to hear those stories in Nicaragua. There's really no freedom, right? You're not allowed to say something negative about the government. If not, you go to jail or things like that. So that's the reality that you live down there, right? But of course, I grew up in a very humble beginnings. It's a third world country. But I always held onto the belief that with hard work and education, I could change my future and my family's future. The biggest turning point of my life was when I received the Walton Family Scholarship. A scholarship that Sam and Helen Walton started back in 1985 with a vision to bring one student per country in Central America and Mexico to come to the U.S., get their bachelor's degree at no cost, and learn about the free enterprise system in this country, right? Of course, I was really, really extremely thankful that I was selected, that they believed in me. But as you can imagine, that was such a big change in my life, coming at a young age by myself with zero English. I still remember the story that when I went through the whole interview process, I faked it, right? And what I mean by faked it is I just got to let them see that what I can do. And you know what? I'm going to memorize this in English in case they ask this question. And I'm going to nail it. And that's what happened. I remember coming to Harding University here in Searcy, Arkansas, the first year. Well, the first few months I struggled, right? A lot. But the scholarship even say, hey, if you keep failing, we may have to send you back. So that was a lot of pressure.
Wow.
And people say, how do you learn English? Well, I had a lot of pressure. It was a lot of pressure. But you know what? It's been a great journey just to go through it. I got to make my best friends are here. I got to meet my best friend, my wife, my daughter, right? Eventually joined Walmart, where I've been able to lead teams in many different areas. And contributing to something bigger than myself has been rewarding to see, right? So that's sort of the journey. And short story of where I come from and what brought me here to Northwest Arkansas. Yeah.
In that journey, talk about your faith. Where did your faith start? Was it back in Nicaragua with your family? Did it happen here?
Yeah, I'll tell you, I grew up in Church of Christ. My parents were there, and so we always knew about God and Jesus. But I tell you, I didn't see Jesus as a friend when I was growing up. I feel like the mentality or mindset is that he's a ruler, he's a judge, and it's someone that you have to please. And you got to be scared if you fail, right? And that's how I grew up over the first 18 years of my life, right? It was all about how to prove yourself in service. It was all about how many days you go to church. If you go more often, then you may go to heaven, right? It was about like wearing long sleeve shirt in service with ties, and that's like the way you dressed and all of it matter a lot. And that's the system that I grew up to think of. I always thought that was something I was missing, transparently young, but that's all what I knew, right? It's just hard to know if there's something out there. And again, I always thank the opportunity to come to this country because it changed when I came here, right? I started, seeing my best friends and my wife and everyone behave differently, right? And seeing Jesus as someone, as a friend was wonderful to see, right? And again, you were in, if you think about it, you're in this system that you've believed for so many years. It's hard to get out of it.
Yeah.
Very hard.
And the political system kind of reinforced, why wouldn't you think of Jesus as a harsh, ruling leader, king? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're always in fear, but then you come here and you're like, well, there's some other ones that are praying, very differently on how we would pray, right? They see Jesus as a friend, and that was something that was hard for me to get out of it because you've always believed in it. But then slowly I start seeing that due to connections and people I would admire, and my wife and friends and everything. So that's been a great and wonderful journey. Of course, I feel like I can always grow more into it, but it's something that I'm really thankful for, that I got to meet Jesus and I got to see a different version of him in this country.
How did you end up at Walmart?
Well, of course, I'm a little biased. I mean, I just thinking about the scholarship that I received, and I told my wife when I graduated from Harding, I really want to end up at Walmart. I really do. I mean, I'm really thankful for what Sam Walton did back in 1985. And it's truly, I've been able to change my family's life due to this opportunity, right? I brought them all here to the U.S. and this story that I'm sure we'll get into it. But I did everything I could to end up there. I didn't have nobody asked me, hey, come here. I really wanted to work for Walmart. And I think it's a great company with great values that Sam Walton still, when he founded the company. And I truly believe that those values are what makes this company a good company.
So I want to talk about your family for a minute, and we can come back to Walmart and some of the roles that you played and stuff, but because you just mentioned it, and I think it's really important for our listeners to hear this part of your story. So you move here on scholarship, you go to Harding, you get your degree. God is opening up your eyes to having a relationship with Christ that's more relational and more friend. You're seeing people live and talk to him differently than you've seen before. When do you have this idea, or did you have this idea all along of, I've got to get my family here? And then how did you do that?
And you're talking about the extended family, right?
Extended family, yeah.
I think there was a part of my life that I was able to do some work in Nicaragua after graduation. The whole thing with the United Nations that I was able to do, support families, and that's been part of the deal even before I answer that question with the scholarship. is that you have to give back to your country, right? That's why they're paying it for you. You got to do something for it. But I think there was a situation that happened back in 2018 where there was a lot of political unrest, and the situations got really, really out of hands in the country. There was a lot of persecution going on, a lot of people dying, a lot of shooting going on, sort of like an internal civil war going on in Nicaragua, where, I had to make a decision of coming back to the U.S., staying with my wife here, and pursuing a different career for me, right? Maybe in the corporate world. I thought I was going to end up in the nonprofit organization, but I ended up with Walmart. And over the years, there was an opportunity. Of course, after that, I wanted to find a way how to bring my family. And it's not easy. It's not easy at all. It's extremely hard. But I always knew that I wanted to do something for them, to give them the opportunity that I received, or something similar, where they can come here and see a different opportunity, right? In many ways, from get to see the same experience that I saw meeting Jesus, probably in a different way, as well as work opportunities, as well as a different life, and give them dignity, right? So that's something that I really wanted to. There was a time back in 2021, I can't remember, but maybe 2022, around the time that my daughter was being born, that there was an opportunity for immigrants from Nicaragua to bring their family, and I took advantage of that, and I was able to bring 7 of them to the U.S.
Wow.
That's, I thought that immigrating to the U.S. was one of the hardest things. I take that back. Bringing my family was probably the hardest thing I've ever done. It's because, it was hard for me to come to the U.S., but seeing my family struggle to adapt to this country and to go through what they have to go through, and it was really tough. You think about 7 people who don't speak English, who are in a different lifestyle, different age, and you got to give them housing, you got to give them food, you got to give them a driver's license. I remember I had to go one by one to the DMV to take them to do the driver's license. And they would fail once, and I got to go back to them. And they would fail twice. Okay, you know what? Okay, so...
And you're the younger brother, right?
I'm the youngest of everyone, right?
The youngest of how many?
There's 4 of us, siblings, but I'm the youngest of everyone. And but again, my sister is married, so she brought her husband as well as kids and everything. Wow. So you got to find the school of the kids. You got to find everything. You got to find them cars. And then they don't bring resources either, right? So you have to buy them cars. It's like I adopted 7 kids. That's how I like this all of a sudden, right? But yeah, that's been quite a wild journey for sure, just bringing them all here to this country.
Wow.
Yeah.
You had mentioned there, faith is driving you. You're introducing them to your faith here in this country as well.
Yeah.
And then you're also, you talked about work, like even getting them jobs, getting them driver's license, and the idea that that in helping them do that helps to give them dignity and usefulness here. When you think about that time and where they are now, I mean, I know you even tell a story in the Workmatters Institute just about even starting businesses with them. How has that journey been?
Yeah, so we grew up it goes back to my past in Nicaragua. I tell a little bit of the difference of the story of what work really means down there in faith. But I grew up in a very entrepreneurial family. It was all about, my sister has always known just starting her own business. She's been on the food business for so long. And it came clear to me that they were really struggling to find jobs because of language, right? I mean, they knew words, but if you don't know how to communicate, it's going to be really tough no matter where you go. And I really wanted to give my sister the opportunity to do something she enjoyed without having to learn she knew the language, but where she was in a place that she would feel comfortable, right? So we started a sort of a food truck restaurant business in Springdale, which I was able to buy completely the whole thing. I set it up for her, right? But that situation in itself, it's a lot of work. Sure. It's a lot of work. I'm telling you, right? A rental car business as well, which I own, and it's been doing really good, right? So they get to support me. So we've started a couple of businesses, Airbnb businesses as well, things like that. So through the work, which I'm blessed through Walmart, I'm able to afford and do a lot of the things that I get to do with the family here. Yeah.
It's such a beautiful picture of the whole idea of blessed to be a blessing.
Yeah.
Wow.
You've got plenty of opportunity. You could have hoarded all this, right?
Yeah.
And yet, the way that you've been walking out your faith, the fruit of that is just seeing how can I steward the resources I have to bless others, to bless the people I love, to bring people here, to support them in their transition, all of those things. And I want to commend you because you're a young rising star, and it would be easy to see things differently. And I think that's one of the things I've always admired about you is just the way you.
Thank you. No, I mean, I tell you, if Sam Walton wouldn't have started a scholarship, I wouldn't be here. And his mission was for those who get it to give back. And I can start with my family first, right? I can start with them. I want them to succeed. I want them to do good at what they do. They've struggled heavily, more than I ever thought it would. That's why I always think about the whole experience being really difficult. Situations where, my brother would be like, oh, you know what? There were situations where he would say I was fired because I didn't understand what I said. And, I still struggle with English. You know what? Let's go ahead and do some more English classes. Let's do these. I'll pay you for these. I'll take you to the clinic. I'll do this. It's just, I had to play that parent role with each one of them individually, right? And that took a lot of time, right? But there's a point where you're like, well, you know what? I did what I can. Now I'm going to let them go through this journey by themselves. And if they need me, I'll be here for them. But it was a 2-year journey where I spent with them.
Yeah. I want to ask you about your day job.
Yeah.
Like, how many different roles have you been in since you've been at Walmart for the last 8 or so years?
Man, it's hard to. I think about 6 roles.
Okay,
and maybe it's been
6 roles in 8 years.
It's been a lot of roles. Yeah, or I would call it probably promotions. Or they probably were in the same area, some of them, right? But it was different responsibilities. Maybe I would say in some of them. So
I think it'd be helpful for our listeners. How do you discern those opportunities for transition? Like, how do you work through that? Because I think there's an element of our culture that just says, well, if it's offered, then I take it. But what goes on inside you when those opportunities are presented? Or how do you process that?
I think a lot I have to. A lot of these opportunities came from leaders who believed in me, who trusted me. Certain leaders who, there was one specific leader who promoted me 4 of the 6 times, right? Which I'm thankful for, right? And there were opportunities, they would present it to me and be like, hey, I feel like you could do more. I want to give you more responsibilities and I want to promote you into this area role, right? So a lot of them came to me as opportunities that I felt blessed instead of me seeking for them. And that was a wonderful thing. Maybe 2 were different where I reached specifically for those areas. But when I think of Walmart, of course, I want to get to a point where I love learning areas. Walmart is such a massive company. I mean, it's just massive. There's just so many teams, living organisms, I like to call it, like they're everywhere, right? But it's great that it's always about finding the balance, but also those leaders who you trust has been a rewarding thing for me.
Thank you.
So your faith at Walmart on a daily basis, you're going in, you've taken on all these different roles over these 8 years, which has been a lot in a short amount of time. How has your faith impacted what you do? How do you intersect your faith with your work? What does that look like?
Yeah. I even like to go back a little bit before answering this question, just to share a little bit of this. I never saw faith as a way of bringing it to work at all. But probably the first time I saw that concept was when I was at Harding, and the first time I started thinking, you know what? Maybe Jesus cares about my spreadsheets.
Maybe I love that. Did y'all hear that? Maybe Jesus actually cares about my spreadsheets.
But he never felt something that I would fully implement. But I'll tell you, it's funny. I started looking at work as a way of worship, not because of my work, but it started with my family first. When I started my work, going back to my journey, even you got to understand that you learn a little bit about my journey and childhood of faith and how I got to see Jesus. But the second thing to this is that part of my journey, I told you, that defines who I am is that I grew up in an environment where busyness meant that you were valuable, right? And of course, I told you that I came from humble beginnings, right? There were times that my mom, we couldn't afford diapers. I don't think I ever wore diapers when I was a kid. My mom would just grab those shirts and racks and she would just wash them anytime I would have accidents or things like that. But it meant that she had to work heavily. And I never saw her, only in the mornings when she would leave at 5 a.m. and come back at 9 p.m., right? I owe a lot to her because she worked hard for me to have my food, right? And things like that. But we value education really a lot, and it meant that I was very, very involved in a lot of different things, right? So I grew up in an environment where I would be up at 5, 6 a.m. and be back at home at 9 p.m. or something. I know that sounds crazy, but that was it. You would finish school, then you would go to an English class for 2 hours, then you would go to soccer classes for 2 more hours. And then, you know what, at night, 6 to 8, guitar classes. And then if you got time, go and have dinner at 9. So that was how I was hardwired, right? The whole time for 18 years of my life, you know? And of course I come here and it was all about, you know, from my dad, you know, someone who I respect and I love, but it was being good wasn't enough. Being great wasn't enough. It was about being number one. That's what mattered the most. And I remember in classrooms, there were times that, you know, in a third world country, of course, you have like 100 students in a classroom. And every time they would have parents meetings, they would put the top 5 students in the board. I needed to be number one. It was a number 2. I had to be number 1. Of course, most of the time I was number 2. I don't know why. It had to be that way. But I brought the same philosophy of working really hard. And maybe that's one of the hardest things that I have to grow, and I still grow as a leader. And I've been growing a lot into it heavily, but coming here was about working hard, and that's how you would achieve more and more. Same at work. But the first time I started thinking of work as a worship, when I got married, you know, my wife was sort of the mirror, right? Suddenly there was someone who didn't care so much about your work quality or degrees or whatever out there, but your presence, right? She's my best friend, someone who I admire and I love the most. And that's sort of where it started hitting me a little bit, right? Maybe I got to practice awareness, which is, in Spanish means conciencia. Conciencia. Estar consciente means awareness, right? And it's something that I strive to practice more and more, being aware at work and being aware at my job. And of course, through the many jobs that I've had at Walmart is something that one of the first things that I think of, it's awareness as well as my family, right? Because in the past, it was all about working hard, similar to the whole story that I have, giving everything to not only be good or great, but being the best. That's what mattered the most. But being aware has been something that I've been able to accomplish at work as well as my family. When I would come home, it would always be the leftovers of my energy, right? And this is the second concept I want to bring out here, is that love does not thrive in leftovers. It really doesn't, right?
Say that again.
Say that. Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. Say that one more time.
Love does not thrive in leftovers.
Love does not thrive in leftovers.
Wow. It doesn't at all.
Thank you for joining us for the Workmatters Podcast. To continue this conversation about faith and work, please share it with a friend. Make sure you subscribe to get notifications when we launch new episodes. For more information about the work we're doing at Workmatters and how we can best serve you, visit us at workmatters.org.